Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning. How
Thanks
you
for having me.
doing?
I'm
Yeah.
great, thank you. A
Wonderful.
lot of exciting things happening right now.
I know, right? I'm excited for you. There's like this little thing right here,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm excited about. You guys have this awesome year, like the season, all right
Oh yeah,
here.
yeah. Do you want me to show that real quick?
Yeah, let me get your green screen away from you
This is
because
the
nobody will be able to see what you're showing.
our season guide for
There you
the
go.
Bayshore Arts Center.
Oh my
You
gosh.
hear that?
Yes. And
Beautifully designed by
everything.
our director, Lauren Alba, and shows all of our shows, our calendar, and descriptions of each show dates, etc. All the tickets are actually available
Right.
online through the website and QR
Scan
code.
code.
Yep.
Yep.
So if you see these around the community, grab one because there's a lot of great shows coming.
Oh yes. Oh
Yep.
yes. And
Between music, plays, musicals,
everything.
etc.
And speaking of good shows, I think you might have one that's happening in I don't know, November.
Yes, we're really, really fortunate to
Yes.
have Armistice.
Armistice.
It's a play that my friend John Thornberry and I wrote. My good friend John Thornberry, he and his wife Rebecca, Dr. Rebecca Stone Thornberry, ran Theater on the Bay from 2011 to 2019, and it was a fantastic
Oh,
era
God, yeah.
to be a part of, especially because I was part of their first show, Almost Maine, and we jumped in, and it was.
Oh my goodness.
They built such a strong community that's still lasting today, and despite the theater evolving, and UW Green Bay, the tier campuses connected to now the main UWGB Phoenix campus,
Yeah.
and now transitioning from the Theater on the Bay to the Bayshore Arts Center. And it's an exciting. There's some changes, but there's a lot of exciting things happening. A lot of
Oh, yeah.
momentum, and I think
Lots.
that builds off of John and Rebecca's legacy.
I think so. I remember the first time I interviewed John. He was doing Sweeney Todd.
Oh my gosh!
And I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great."
Oh yeah,
because
that was
I
a
could talk.
fantastic show.
Yes, I could talk about Sweeney Todd all day long,
Yeah.
and we did.
It was a great production. It was a really high quality production, and there was a lot of passion that went into it.
Yes.
And to be a part of that, I played Anthony, and oh my gosh, it was really fun and intense and dark, but also beautiful in a way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and Stephen Sondheim's music is incredible, but also complex. So
Right,
it's
right.
dynamic
But
and it's challenging, but it makes you rise to the occasion, and I think that's the same level of quality and community that John and Rebecca built
Right.
during their time at
I
Theater
would
on the Bay.
agree.
Was
I would
this
agree.
we're raising the level of expectations, but everybody is achieving it together, and
Right.
there was definitely a level of belonging
yes,
that people felt.
Yes, definitely.
And so I'm here to talk about Armistice,
Armistice. Yes.
and this all relates because I'm gonna. Can I
Go-
pull up
yep,
the card
I
here?
gotcha. Yes.
Okay, cool. So I don't know if we need to pull off the
No, that looks
background,
good.
but Armistice is going to take place November 6th through the 9th at the Bayshore Arts Center, and it's a play about Menominee and Marinette during World War I that John and I wrote over the past 4 years. We got together at the Lloyd House in Menominee, where my wife and I have been living with our two beautiful daughters. Oh, by the way, I have to give you this flower
Yeah.
that is from my daughter Maria.
Oh my goodness.
She and my wife
Aw.
Lexi and our other daughter Sunny went to the garden,
Aw.
the community garden in Menominee. There are raised beds right next to Mr.
Yeah.
McGregor's,
Aw.
and so that's where they went and picked these beautiful flowers for us this
Oh
morning,
my
and said she said
gosh.
bring this to Melissa.
That's so sad. And I have vases down there.
Excellent,
So I'm gonna sit
excellent.
that in a vase.
Yay! so yeah. To get back to Armistice, so John and I would gather every Thursday for
Yeah.
4 years. This was we started late 2021 discussing the idea of would you like to co-write a show? And in 2017, November of 2017, Theater on the Bay had produced, thanks to John and Rebecca, a hysterically fictional yet historically factual murder mystery that I had written
Yeah.
about Marinette during Prohibition,
Yeah.
called Menominee River Mysteries, the
Yeah.
Summer of 27. And so secret codes, murder mystery, bootlegging alcohol,
Oh, yeah.
Al
All of it.
Capone, just a fantastic adventure. And I remember in 2014 when I pitched the idea to John and Rebecca, and they said, well, if you write it, we'll read it. So my wife and I traveled around the United States working on organic farms, like volunteering through a really cool exchange program called WOOF. You would work for free but get free room and board.
Oh, nice.
And there's a whole
Yeah.
social network, and they have safety nets and background checks and things. So during that time, I used a binder that my grandmother had given me when my grandfather passed in 2004, excuse me. She had this binder that was about 80 brochures thick of the Marinette County Historian, which is a quarterly brochure that the Marinette
Yeah.
County Historical Society would put out, I believe, starting in the early 70s. I have only so
Wow.
far back.
Yeah.
I don't have them all, but the Logging Museum, I
I
believe
was
they
gonna
have
say,
originals
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And so that was an incredible resource. And
I
I have to
bet.
mention that because these plays would not have been written without them and the efforts of the local historians. So if you get a chance to go to the Logging Museum,
Do it.
both the Marinette and Menominee County Historical Societies are really noble
Oh, yeah.
entities, nonprofits that need our support.
Oh, absolutely.
So there are several articles specifically that focus on the 1920s or teens or 30s written by Dr. Carl Krogh, who was a professor of history out at UW Marinette.
Nice.
My dad is also a professor out there,
Yeah.
James Lamalfa. He was up until 2013, and so he was very active as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
And so Dr. Carl Krogh, the articles that he wrote were very well organized, but they also had all of the like, I don't want to say bibliography, but all of the
Yeah.
dates of the newspaper articles.
Timeline.
Yes, he had everything organized so that if you wanted to, you could actually go find the
Find it.
newspaper article.
Oh,
which
wonderful.
the Menominee County Historical Society has the Anuta Research Center
Yeah.
behind their historical museum, and all of the papers on both sides of the river going back to the 1890s.
Oh, wow.
So that was like leaving a breadcrumb trail
Oh, yeah.
for me to follow when it came to
Yeah.
some of the historical research. So the first play was lovingly produced thanks to Rebecca, who was professor of theater at UW Marinette and is still now at UWGB, and John, and that was produced in 2017. And there was a very particular series of events during World War I that were mentioned in that show in the summer of 27. And now I'm going
Oh.
to show you the picture that is the
Yes.
hook or plot point of Armistice, that when John and I, after talking about what would we write if
Yeah.
we collaborated, this was, 4.5 years ago, I had originally said, what if we did a stage adaptation of Sunset Boulevard? I like that movie. I love
I
the
know,
old
it's a good
classic,
movie.
Hollywood black and
Oh,
whites. And I just thought it
That's
would be kind of
mine.
fun.
Alfred Hitchcock's.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Vertigo.
Vertigo. Rear
Oh,
Window.
no.
Anatomy of a Murder.
Birds.
Yep. Birds. Oh.
Psycho.
Yeah. Exactly. So I got really jazzed up about that. But what happened was John said, there's a particular picture that came out of the summer of 27 that was referenced
Oh.
during the show, that some of the
Yeah.
protagonists are mentioning, some historical events that did happen and how it
Kinda
gave
shaped.
context for the characters who were on the opposite side of the law, so to speak,
Yeah.
and how it was functioning. And so this particular picture is about, well, it's pretty self-explanatory,
Yeah.
1,000 words. So I'm going to pull that up and let me know if that's good.
That's good. Wow.
This is from the Marinette Eagle Star in 1918. I believe June 8th is when this article and photo came out. Notice that the etched into the photo is the title "Burning German Kultur." I believe it's pronounced that way, but that's the
Yeah.
German word for culture. And they used Kultur back then, the local Americans, as, or probably nationally, as kind of a slang term. And so you'll notice a massive crowd gather around what appears to be, and is labeled actually incorrectly, thanks to Mike Kaufman, he spotted this. This looks like it could be a Holy Spirit Church on 10th and 10th. It's
Yeah.
actually not. This
It's
is
not.
St. Adalbert's, which is an old, it was a Polish Catholic church. It was designed by the same architect. They had the
Yeah.
same blueprint. So this is the corner of, I believe it's 13th Ave, 13th Street in Menominee and 13th Ave.
Oh.
So McDonald's is this way. I
Yeah.
believe Bethel Lutheran Church is down to the opposite side,
Okay.
if I'm looking at it correctly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
the newspaper reported a crowd of 6,000 to 8,000 people who, in a very big patriotic display, which was of the times,
Yep.
war fever was sweeping the nation.
Uh-huh.
And 6,000 to 8,000 folks marched in a big parade from Marinette Courthouse, just down the road here, down Main Street, across the Minneconne Bridge, down First Street, and they stopped at Spee's Public Library.
Really?
They wanted to get any German books from the library,
Library.
but the librarians would not allow that. There's an article that states
Good.
they stopped there. And then this patriotic parade continues on over to outside of what is now Blesch Auditorium today, and I believe the junior, like the middle school. So back on that same site, there was the junior high school and the and the senior high school. And the senior high school, this particular photo is from one of the windows of that school looking out on the intersecting road.
Wow.
And so before this photo was taken, the school board had voted to remove German as a language, foreign language being taught at high school.
Oh.
Obviously because of
Yeah.
their,
I mean,
disposition toward the war.
Exactly.
And so this pile of books, the base of the pile are the German textbooks from the high school that were pulled out. But then people were invited to throw anything in, whether it was books on German thought or philosophy, books in German, or even English about German. There's
Anything
purportedly
with-
like
yeah.
a German Bible even, or things that people have mentioned. So it was a very exciting time if you were part of this spirit, if you were
Yeah.
moved. But as the story also goes, historically, many of the audience, the parade goers were also German Americans or Austrian Americans, because they feared what would happen if they didn't display their patriotism.
Oh my gosh.
Because
Can
that
you
was
imagine?
that was
Yeah.
something of the times. So this particular event, the book burning, is a really important piece because John basically said, why don't we write about this?
That. Mm-hmm.
And then B, it serves as the sort of anchor point for the play
Right.
and everything around it. So the research continued as we started writing about 3.5 years ago now at the Lloyd, and we found in the Marinette County Historian, I went and we dug up other incidents of German American, I guess I'll say harassment, we'll call it, for the
yeah.
time. I think people who got swept up in the war fever just were looking for a scapegoat because overseas their sons
Yep.
might have been sent. The Kaiser and everything that was happening with the European conflict,
Yeah.
people were not pleased about, which is interesting because at the start of the European conflict, the United States did not want to get involved. So with the sinking of the Lusitania, that
did it.
galvanized the nation. So John said, let's look at this photo. Why? And he literally said, why is no one telling that story? And so that's what we set
Exactly.
out to do.
I love it.
Every Thursday for that 3.5 years, once the 4 years, once we decided upon what we wanted, every Thursday we'd meet at the Lloyd Building and either on the fourth floor, looking out over the city in the community room. It's just a fantastic,
That's
aesthetic.
an awesome space.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful space, and I encourage people to, if
Oh,
you know
yeah.
someone, to check it out. Let's just take a walk through. The development company, I know Nancy Douglas had a lot to do with bringing that space to good use
I would
in
go
2014.
there. Yeah, I would go there and meet with Nancy, and we'd either
Oh,
go
neat.
downstairs or upstairs.
Yes, those were the two rooms where John and I
Yes.
worked on the play,
Yeah.
and we even have selected photos of baby on the chest while we're working and things.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
it was such a pleasure to get to work with John, and he's just sorely missed. But he has this lasting legacy.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is really important for us to recognize. So, Armistice, we co-wrote, and we finished it. It was so beautiful. We had this little writer's room. Our friend Tristan Shu, whose play Reunion will be put on next year at the Bayshore Arts Center during the Short Play Festival,
nice.
end of May. When it was really funny, Tristan and I had never had scotch before, and John, classy guy, about the same time. At the same time, yeah, we had finished our plays, Tristan's Reunion, our Armistice, and John brought a big thermos of ice and this really high quality scotch, and we all sort of toasted to this beautiful creation, these acts of creation that we participated in, and it's such a pleasure to write Armistice with John. And part of the reason I'm talking about Armistice too is because we have auditions coming up.
Oh, yeah.
August 15th and 16th.
15th and
so
16th.
Less than a month away.
Where at and what time?
At the Bayshore Arts Center. So at the theater itself, we have on Friday, August 15th, we have auditions from 5 to 8 p.m.
Okay.
So a 3-hour block.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes. And there are 10-minute audition slots that people can sign up for through the UW website. Excuse me. I call it the UW. It's just such a,
I do.
Yeah. Force habit. But at the Bayshore Arts Center, we have auditions. There's a QR code that I will, again, hold up here that people can scan on their phones.
Perfect.
Or you can head to, we have a signup.com/go and then a fun series of letters after that. But that can be found through the Bayshore Arts Center website.
Okay.
So
and
August,
probably your Facebook page.
I'm sure
think
that
it's
will
on
come.
yeah.
We haven't even done auditions yet for the next play, which is going to be Puffs. That is a really fantastic satire about a certain magical wizard at a certain school of magic. There's no connection to. There's no association with J.K. Rowling or the Harry Potter property,
just
per se, the intellectual property.
Similar.
So it's just placed in that realm, and everyone will know the references, and it's hilarious.
I should tell my kid we're a Harry Potter family.
Oh my
so
gosh!
We just
And my wife and I actually saw Puffs off Broadway in New York with the lead actor who originated the role of.
Nice.
It's so cool. Anyway, so those auditions are actually next weekend.
Oh wow!
So we've got
That's
that
coming up.
This weekend. We have the second weekend of performances for Something Rotten. So if
Right.
you haven't seen that or you want to go check it out, I really encourage you. That's a really funny Shakespearean musical kind of farce,
Oh,
and
fun.
so a lot of great shows coming up. So with Armistice, August 15th, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday, August 16th, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. We'll be holding the auditions.
Okay.
And those auditions are 10-minute slots. You do need to sign up ahead of time. And we already have close to 10 people signed up, which being almost a month out still, I think there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of buzz going around, a lot of connection to John.
Yeah.
A lot of people, this is going to be like a swan song for his contributions to the theater community and Rebecca's impact, and there's a lot of love. So there are 12 male roles and 5 female roles for speaking roles in the show. But what's neat is that our assistant director Brandon Bing and I had been talking, and he came up with this idea that we need to move these modular set pieces that we designed with Joshua Lalonde, our set designer, who's fantastic as well. Really excited to work with them. Annalisa Mines for costumes, Chris Weber on lighting. We have a really great production team, and we're still building that out a little bit. But Brandon and I had this discussion and came down to move all these modular set pieces because of the multiple locations in the play.
Yeah.
We're going to need a nice size stage crew. But the stage crew is going to be like a living costumed stage crew. So they will help these 6 to 8 individuals that we're looking for will flesh out certain scenes, like the book burning, or the parade,
right,
or a bar scene, or church congregation at this German Lutheran church, which is the opening setting for the play. I just want to pivot and slightly talk about the play itself now. So Armistice follows a German farm family and a German Lutheran reverend. So the Christ Lutheran Church, which was in Menominee.
Right.
And we borrow from both sides of the river. Peace Evangelical Church in Marinette had a reverend, I believe it was William Leonard. And there was a particular incident involving the bell ringing on the night of Armistice in November 11th, the 11th day, the 11th hour, 11th month, in 1918 when the World War I was over. And Reverend Leonard was approached by this mob and forced to ring the church bell. He was pulled out of the parsonage, sent over the church, even though he had rang the church bells. But because of, I think, that holdover of this negative energy or disposition or focus on anyone related to German culture,
Yeah.
there were several incidents that happened to local German pastors, but also there was a group in Grover, south of Peshtigo, of German farmers who were reluctant to pay their war bonds.
Oh.
And Marinette had a war loyalty board. It was, as far as I understand from the articles that Carl wrote and the show, it was interesting that we dedicated the script to Carl because of the research that he
Right.
did. We'll dedicate essentially the production to John.
Right.
But the articles that talk about these farmers, we started to craft this show. We didn't want to have 50,000 characters in every single instance. So the family, the German farm family, the Beckers, Elvina and her two sons, Wilhelm and Josef, and they have 4 younger siblings who are offstage characters we never see. And Reverend Leonard are 2 essentially proxies for all of these events that happened to local German Americans who were basically harassed about their heritage. And so these German farmers were sent paid a visit by the visitation committee of Marinette's War Loyalty Board, which was not, as far as I know, an official, like a legal entity, but more a social construct to enforce what people believed. If you weren't, bleeding red, white, and blue in this particular fashion, you might be connected to the Kaiser. There was some animosity that when I tell people the story about the show, they always liken to the Japanese internment camps of World War II. And how people were persecuted just because of their culture or color of their skin, language they speak, etc.
Oh yeah.
So that, being a strong theme of today, that's one way that there are some interesting parallels, and I'll talk about more later. So some of these farmers, you get incidents of thrown in a ditch, barn painted yellow, because, oh, you're a coward.
Yeah.
There was one farmer who was forced to kiss the flag publicly in Dunlap Square just down the road, in front of a crowd of 200 people to pledge his loyalty. Jeez. So if you were reluctant to pay your war bonds, if you're one of these poor German farmers, and maybe you had families overseas and you were reluctant just because you didn't support the war or you didn't have enough money or whatever,
right.
Your name would be published in the paper as there were lists of the slackers.
Oh my gosh.
And so the War Loyalty Board is a very important part of the story as well. So we crafted a War Loyalty Board based on some of the suggestions that Carl had said. There were managers or like mill administrators or superintendents and things like that. So we were very careful in how we crafted the story to not necessarily include actual historical people. Some of the names we just didn't have.
Right.
But we did create an entity that had to provide the contrast to what happened to the German farmers and reverends. So you have the Beckers, you have Reverend, we can name him Fritz Leonard, who's based on William Leonard. And then we have some of the congregation members. We have Frau Schmidt, and we have Tobias, who's a congregation member who essentially believes more in the war than he does in his connection to the church.
Wow.
So then we have some characters. Wilhelm and Josef are each courting someone. Wilhelm, the older brother of the two, and Clara are all but married. Clara Brissette. She is a French German American who teaches German at the school, and then she loses her job essentially, or part of it,
Well, yeah,
because of the book burning and whatnot. So anyway, You throw in Lillian Gleason, who is a young Red Cross nurse who's dating Joseph, the younger brother of the two Beckers. And so she is, on behalf of the war, she's involved. She's a Red Cross nurse, but she
Right.
also has this, she loves Joseph, and Joseph is a German American. And so you also have the War Loyalty Board. You have two characters from the Summer of 27 play who make a reoccurring appearance, which is really cool. So we're
that's
going
cool.
backwards 10 years.
Yeah.
We have Sheriff. He's not sheriff at the time. Hultquist and Wesley Hayward, who is a fictional character. But Hultquist,
cool.
Albert Hultquist, was an actual sheriff. He served for many years and great contributions. And so he's not an antagonist. He's a character who provides context and a little color.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Wesley Hayward is probably one of the more antagonistic people in the show, as his direct opposition to one of the Becker brothers.
Okay.
So you get this really interesting spectrum
Yeah.
of colors. Like you have people pro-war, anti-German, anti-war, and everything in between. And
That's
so it's
just-
very fascinating.
Yeah.
This spectrum of loyalty or patriotism toward the fatherland or the United States. And
I
so,
think that a lot of people are going to really like this play. I mean, it's got
I think
everything.
so. I agree. And there's a lot of people who, upon sharing this base story, like
Yeah.
my elevator pitch, they say, "Oh, Grandma never said why we didn't learn German," or "Grandpa, changed our last name
That's why.
when he was, or his father did." And there's so many people who talk about that level
Right.
of persecution. Then you add in the Spanish influenza in 1918, fall of 1918, and things are just
Everything just
families
goes,
are
"Woo!"
devastated. Some disappearing overnight.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you have prejudice toward a cultural minority. You have political extremism with the book burning.
Right.
And the Spanish influenza is a pandemic of its
Yep.
time. And so you get some
All
crazy
of it.
parallels
Yeah.
to today's world. So, yeah, I think a lot of people will find an interest in the local history. John and I worked really hard to craft a really, I guess, a palatable story.
Yeah.
That is with
Relatable.
relatable and intriguing characters who you
Exactly.
care about.
Yeah.
And we do, like, the War Loyalty Board has some valid arguments for some of the actions they take. Kind of like in Summer 27, we had the story had the local city police and the county police at odds over the actions of the bootleggers, which
Right.
was questionable. Were they the true antagonists or not? And how you enforce the law was in question there.
Right.
So we have a lot of gray characters and some sort of justification for their actions, and we built that in. But there's really cool connection to actual German heritage and traditions, like Johannistag, which
Yeah.
was a holiday, like a midsummer holiday celebrated with burning little figures of, like, the witch or the summer.
Yeah.
It's part of I believe. When I was an exchange student in Denmark, senior year of high school, there was a Scandinavian tradition called Midsummer.
Okay.
And this idea of, you want to drive back the bitter winter. So
Yeah,
you have,
and you have the new growth or
new growth,
new
and
you
exactly. So the
type of
summer
thing.
holiday, we want, our good harvest, good crops. Like
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
driving back the winter, the cold, bitter, the winter when food became scarce or
Yep.
different elements. So it's
Oh, this
there's
is
so
gonna
many
be
cool
great.
connections.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of roles for individuals who want to audition, which we're really excited about having these auditions. Depending upon your level of ability
Yeah.
to commit or interest or experience or whatnot, we'd love anybody and everybody to try out.
What do they need before we sign off here? What do they need to do during auditions? What do you expect?
What we hope for, it's not required, but for folks to have, we do want a 1-minute monologue. It doesn't
Okay.
have to be fully prepared, is what I mean. You could come with something printed that you've read over and practiced, but it doesn't have to be committed to memory. So we'd like a
Okay.
1-minute monologue for everybody who auditions after they fill out a short audition sheet that has a full understanding of
Yeah.
what, as an actor or actress, a person is looking for, and then our expectations, and then the time commitment
Yeah.
and things like that. No absences during tech week leading
Right.
up to the show, etc.
That makes sense.
And so we just want as much transparency in that regard as possible. So we would need folks to sign up for an audition slot, step number 1, through the website. They're 10-minute slots
Okay.
with 36 slots available, and I think we're at 7 or 8. We're getting close to 10
Okay.
now. Then the second thing would be come to your audition spot early, 10 minutes early
okay.
from your audition spot to take time to fill out this sheet, maybe 15 minutes early. And then the third thing would be to have with you that monologue, 1-minute monologue that you would present to the audition panel, which would be 3 of us. And then my hope is to have the cast list set. So if the 15th and 16th are auditions, we're going to have our first sort of read through of the show the following weekend.
Okay.
So we're going to hit the ground running, and that's something that John and I discussed a lot of the logistics behind the show. And before he passed in March of this year, and I got to spend 10 months working closely with one of my best friends.
Yep.
And it was really interesting because sometimes I felt like I was taking time away from him and his wife Rebecca, who's also a good friend.
Yeah.
And later on, she had mentioned, Rebecca had said, I was so grateful that you and John had that time together because it gave me a break as his caretaker. And John and I felt the same way about this. It was like playing in the sandbox.
Right.
And John just wanted that more than anything. It gave him focus and direction and a fun distraction despite all of the health complications going on. And I love those aha moments. When we're sitting there, he would always play scores to really great movies and something with action or sci-fi or different things. And we'd always have a side conversation. Oh, where did that come in? And it would lead to these great tangents. But while we wrote the plot and the story, and we'd go scene by scene. We had a huge beat board for Act 1 and Act 2. And we would sit with our computers facing each other like this, and when we'd sit and talk over them like two pianists, writing this beautiful duet. And we'd have these aha moments where we say, whoa, if this plot point in the first act connected to the second, it would bring things full circle. And we just high five. And it was so
That's
fun.
awesome.
I really felt spoiled because so many people loved John and loved Rebecca and the legacy they built. And I just feel really honored and blessed that I had that time with him one-on-one.
Right.
For, we'd sit,
Well,
sushi
look
or
what
subs.
you created.
And something came out, something beautiful came out of it. During that time also, we've made a few efforts to, John had wrote a radio stage play adaptation of It's a Wonderful Life. One of his favorite all-time pieces.
That's my favorite.
Right? And so I was blessed to be a part of that. I believe it was 2014 that Theater on Bay put that on as a staged radio play.
We should do it here.
Oh, yes. It was actually Bay Cities Radio's broadcasted, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
So I got to play George Bailey, and he was, his uncle, and there were several wonderful folks involved in that. But we were able to push that through. John contacted the Greatest Gift Foundation, which holds the rights to It's Wonderful Life. And so they granted him the rights for the stage adaptation to be licensed and produced. We got that. We set it in motion before John passed, and we saw it through. It was great.
That's
and
wonderful.
so, and what's really beautiful is there was a benefit concert for John and Rebecca last September. Last August, we did a stage reading of Armistice. And I helped sort of navigate getting this group together for not a group together for the benefit concert, which was incredible, by the way. I got to sit next to John and Rebecca. It was just fantastic. The love poured out on stage.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's involvement, people coming out of the woodwork. But I helped spearhead this launch to get a seat in the theater for John and Rebecca, and there were so many people who helped donate to that and came out and said, please, let's do this. And so John and Rebecca's seats are section B, I think seats A, 6 and 7. And the theater has this Take a Seat campaign. And so there are plaques on the back of each seat. And so John and Rebecca each wrote their little pieces. Aww. And on the back of John's plaque, it says, John Thornberry when he was active at the theater. And underneath, there's a quote from It's a Wonderful Life. And it says, there's a quote at the end of the movie where George Bailey talks about the richest man in town. And it's not because of the money, it's the friends. And that's and that I truly believe is what John and his time here and from what I experienced with stories when he and Rebecca were in Colorado, out in New York, like that was his greatest gift.
Right.
Was his life work.
Yeah.
And his love with Rebecca and their shared partnership in building these healthy theater communities. So I wanted to explain that because for Armistice, we're going to keep their seats open.
Oh, definitely.
Every night.
Yes.
You know, he'll be there with us.
Aw.
And there's so much love.
Definitely. Well,
So-
yeah, I can tell.
Thanks for having me on it and
Yes.
letting me explain all of these
no,
wonderful
it's not a
facets of
problem.
it's going to be a great show again, November 6th through the 9th at Bay Shore Arts Center. You can get tickets online for their whole season. Right now.
Right now.
So many good things. We got
Oh.
Go See Something Rotten this weekend.
know.
Second weekend, it's going to be great. And then,
And then
auditions for
auditions are coming
Puffs.
up.
And then we got children's show.
Yep.
In October, Junie B. Jones, Jackie Bacter's
gonna
going
be
to be
so
great.
fun.
Jackie, Nada's going to do a great job directing that. We're going to have, there's so many things. Then there's the Christmas show.
Yeah.
The Christmas
It's
by the Bay
always-
that Coastal Players runs. So
It's
look
great.
out. Like
Look out
there's
for
a
all the
great
stuff that's
season
coming.
and everything in the springtime. And
Yeah.
so thanks again for having me
no
on.
problem.
It's always
No
a pleasure to be
I know
with you.
we could talk forever. So
Right.
I am I better shut it off before we talk for another 10
Right.
minutes.
Right. But thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And we're going to have you back because we got to get people in and
Yep.
we got to get volunteers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all sorts of stuff. So if
Yeah.
you're watching and you want to be a part of this, let them know.
Yeah.
Go through
Contact
your-
Lauren Albaugh
Yeah.
at Bay Shore Arts Center. And we can
Definitely.
direct traffic because we need a lot of help. But there's a lot of great opportunities to be involved and audition for the show. Please sign up through the Bay Shore Arts website, August 15th and 16th. It's going to be a great event to be a part of.
Definitely.
So.
Well, you guys